Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 720 System Strategies strategy call for August 2024. And this is sort of like the state of bankruptcy of what we're seeing with bankruptcy marketing specifically. I want to talk about four things, and we're going to unpack one thing at a time. And as we're going, if you have questions, like show your video and say, I want to talk about something. What do you know? What are you seeing? I want to hear about your existing market. Feel free for this to be very, very interactive. And like I said, if you want to ask a question, just turn on your video and we'll go from there. There's four things I want to talk about. Specifically, I want to talk about a new lead source that I sort of tripped on walking out of NACPA. Had no idea what I was getting into, and it turned out to be a gift. Second of all, I want to talk about what's happening with Facebook and what we're seeing over the past 12 months. Third, I want to talk about student loans. And the fourth, I want to talk about debt negotiation. And we're going to kick this off with influencers. So I was at NACPA and we're there at the booth, and this lady comes by and says, you know, I have a following at TikTok and I'm not a social media guy. So I just didn't really catch the vision, I think, at first. And she's like, but what I can do is I can bring people to you. And I'm like, great. And she had a bunch of followers. I'm going to show you this. And when I looked at her site, it was a little complicated. It was a debt calculator and things like that. And I was just like, well, let's make it really simple. If someone wants to talk to a bankruptcy attorney, they call. That's simple. And let me show you what we ended up doing. So this is her, the ladylike lawyer, and you can see right now she's live. She's doing a live session, right? And she's got 97,000 followers, and she does things like this.
If you have filed a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, then you know that about 30 to 45 days after that bankruptcy is filed, you're going to have to submit yourself to a bankruptcy hearing.
So she does informational education on what bankruptcy is. And plus, she makes it fun as well.
I know, I'm a bankruptcy lawyer. I know what people end up having to do.
You're getting a feel for it, okay? She says to people, go to my link, right? Go to my link, you can talk to a bankruptcy attorney. And we created this landing page for it. And people can either call now immediately, or they can book an appointment. And since June 25th, we've had 496 of these transfers. And the point of this, when you get someone who's following this on TikTok, it's a different type of lead. And let me tell you why. There's no shame. They're not embarrassed about bankruptcy. This is a big deal we deal with, right? We deal with people who are embarrassed about filing bankruptcy. Why should I be embarrassed? She's talking about bankruptcy, right? And first of all, no shame. Second of all, it's an unsophisticated way to generate a lead. We're not talking like, hey, call a bankruptcy attorney. They're like going to her for advice. She's engaging with them in private messaging. And then she's like, you know, you should talk to someone, call my number. And it's just a whole different world that's sort of like opened up for us. I want to show you, we're talking to this lady right now, Dispute Queen.
Oh, late night, baby girl, okay. It wasn't a plan, baby girl. Skeet the beat, carry the bus like greet the free. She's something go meet the meat.
It's a different type of lead and it converts, okay? This is a new lead we're talking about. Wine over 40. But what does wine have to do with bankruptcy? Well, guess what? She followed Adrienne, the first lady I showed you. She filed bankruptcy. Now she's talking about bankruptcy. Can you be fired filing for bankruptcy?
Hello, everyone. I know I was supposed to do a few videos for you guys today. I have an unboxing I needed to do and a bunch of other ones, and I didn't get to it. My day just got away from me. But as I've been answering comments throughout the day, I've been getting lots of comments on my financial videos, particularly my bankruptcy videos and private messages.
So think about this. Where do people go when they have a bunch of debt and they're embarrassed? I mean, are you going to your friends? Are you going to family members? You could be a little embarrassed. Maybe you do. But like this TikTok in Facebook and Instagram, it's a safe place. You can search it and it's safe. So we generate the calls. We put the phone calls on our phone, on the calendar, right? We take the calls and then we transfer to the attorney live. These are live transfers because they want to talk to someone based on a criteria. Hey, Rich, can you share your screen? So Rich takes calls for like 13 or 14 states, right? You've taken hundreds of these calls. I think like 30% of these things go to you. Give a take on these leads.
So I don't know if you remember this, Phil, but we first crossed paths with Adrian 3 NACPAs ago.
Yeah, I remember. Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't realize it was 3. I thought it was 2.
It was Tucson. No, it was Tucson,
Oh,
and
it
then again in
was?
Washington, and then again in
Oh,
Colorado.
totally
So
forgot.
I've been following her for a long time, and then like I just like she's so brilliant, and I've been telling people go follow this lady. And as part of training for my team, I actually tell my team go watch her because she overcomes all the misconceptions about bankruptcy and kind of takes away fear and shame. And I just had a guy, I think yesterday, he's like, well, I just texted my mom, told her I'm talking to a bankruptcy law firm, and she told me not to file bankruptcy is the worst thing I could do. And I'm like, absolutely, that is like, I'm sure your mom loves you, but that's the worst advice she probably ever gave you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, by the way, go follow this lady. So her content is great. She does live video. She does lives every Sunday, and then like interactive lives on TikTok. And I've seen there and I message her. But yeah, she's been great. And also, I don't know if you know this, but her followers went up by almost 20,000 since she's been involved with us.
Yeah, she's gone up big. We've been what we're realizing, and I think I'm not sure if you know this, but we've been advertising for her engagements. We're like trying to drive her followers
Yeah.
because we know they're going to turn into leads. So let's talk specifically about the lead. Like when you get a lead, you see it, you know if it's one of these influencer leads or
Yes.
or whatever. What's your gut internal office discussion on these influencer leads?
I've never seen anything better. Somebody comes off of Google, somebody comes off of Facebook. They still have a lot of misconceptions. And I've never seen more people who have already, like lately, like everybody's like the world's a mess. The economy's bad. Everything's a mess right now. But so many people are looking into every other option. And then bankruptcy seems to be their last resort. So they do things like debt consolidation scams and, they pay thousands of dollars. So these leads are primed and ready. They've already come all the misconceptions. They feel like they need to do it. And for some reason, they all seem to be like middle working class. They have jobs. So we're not getting these like social security people that, don't have the money for bankruptcy. They have to refer to legal aid. But these people are primed and ready. These are the best leads I have ever seen. Their conversion rate is really high.
When we send Rich a lead, we do like 5, or when we send these leads out, they get like 5 questions answered. Maybe they have time, how much debt they have. We won't transfer over if there's not $8,000 in unsecured debt, and they have to have a job that pays at least $1,800 a month. We transfer over to you. You do a 30-minute intake on these, right?
24 minute, yeah.
25-minute intake, 77 questions, and then collect a credit card. What percentage of the people at the end of the call are given a credit card?
Since you called me at 11:30 to ask a check with my team,
Yeah.
it's going to be, I'd say more than 95%.
So let's say it's 75%.
Okay.
Let's just say
that's unreasonable.
Let's say 3 out of 4. I mean, that's outrageous, but let's be conservative. 3 out of 4 people are retaining. It's better than a Google LSA lead. Hard stop. I mean, it just is. Google LSA lead, they could be calling. How many times do you have to dispute those because they think they're calling family law or whatever? Anyways, my point is, this is something to take a look at. Is there anything else, Rich, that you want to review with regard to this before I go to the next point, or any questions we have?
I don't know what LSA calls cost in certain markets. I don't
Yeah.
know what they cost, but I just feel like these people are primed. These are the best. It's the easiest phone call. One thing that I've taught my team to do is engage and draw the prospects' concerns out before we move forward, because we don't want them to go hear all the noise in society or have their aunt tell them bankruptcy is no good. So they already overcome that. So our call is a lot more efficient. We don't have to address that as much because they've already overcome that. The only other thing is I would say, I feel like LSA calls are typically quite expensive and they're not as prepared or as
Well, I mean, LSA calls can range from 100 to 150 bucks per call. I mean, they're fantastic leads. This is different. The problem with this, here's the problem with this lead, is you cannot control. I can't say, I see Robert Hoagland on the line. Robert says, I want 100 of these next month. I can't do it because it's random.
Yeah.
I can't do it. That's the problem. It's random. We're getting leads from states I don't even have attorneys in. We're like giving away the leads to people in Montana and like, various places because we don't have an attorney to take them. So it's a little frustrating that we do these live transfer. As a reminder, if you can't do a live transfer, What we do with Rich is Rich can do overflow. So for example, I just talked to an attorney in Maryland. He did 30 intakes last week. He's like, I'm just slammed. Great. We'll call you. We'll ring 3 times. Overflow goes to Rich's team because he's always available. So
my point with that is I feel like I take LSA calls all day long for the firm here in Phoenix, and I take these calls as well. These calls are higher quality, they convert at a higher rate, and the conversation's easier.
So the cost of these, by the way, $100 per live transfer. That's what we cost. I pay Adrian, I pay these other influencers, et cetera, et cetera. We organize all of it. We're screening them and giving them to you. So the ROI is definitely there. And what we're focused on, myself, Mark, Deanne, we're focused on expanding the influencer pool so we can get more leads to more people. If you're interested in that, hit me a private message or reply to me and we'll get you in the loop. Thanks, Rich. Appreciate that. Let's talk about Facebook marketing. State of bankruptcy. We're talking about the state of bankruptcy marketing 2024. It's August 2024. Over the past year, Facebook leads costs in 75, 80% of the markets, I haven't like taken it down to the county, are down about 12.5%. Now, in some markets, they're down even more. They're down like 30%. And some markets, you know, they're similar. But my point is there's a few things that could be happening here. One, the ads could be better, right? Possibly. 2, the algorithms could be better, right? That's a possibility too. Or 3, the demand's higher. And I think we all know the demand is high and demand is working, right? The demand in bankruptcy has pivoted in the past 12 months. I mean, I can tell you stats in Arizona, bankruptcy filings are up 35% year over year, July to July, 35%. I'm hearing it across the country that bankruptcy filings are going up. And if you're not taking advantage of that, then, or you're not seeing that internally, let's talk about the processes that you have in place, because the processes, you should be seeing this intake, these filings going up, even without additional advertising. This should just be matriculation. Now, one of the things about Facebook, keep in mind, this is a different lead. It's totally different than the influencers, totally different than Google OSA. And what we're doing with Facebook, we're nurturing them over time, right? We're getting someone in the door. We're getting someone in the door and we're sending them emails and we're talking, dismantling the misconceptions about bankruptcy. And now part of the way we're doing that is by incorporating these TikTok videos so people can understand, they can follow, et cetera, et cetera. But it's really important. It's like absolutely urgent that you get people in the lead follow-up drip. So when someone buys a Facebook lead with us, we include in the cost of the lead, email and text follow-up. That's included. There aren't many lead vendors out there that sell a Facebook lead for $30 to $40 and include follow-up. Matter of fact, I don't know anyone other than us. So first of all, we're managing that. But also most of you have a separate drip for your own leads, your Google, your other ways that you generate leads, you know, the organic drip, or people call your office. You got to make sure these leads are getting in the sequences, because if they're not getting the sequences, they're not going to convert. I've all heard the old adage. John Orcutt and I have talked about this many times. John Orcutt, #1 filer in North Carolina, has 2,500 Google reviews. Okay, the guy's been around forever, well-respected, smart man. He talks about the ripening of a lead. He's like, if you give me an apple tree and you walk up to an apple tree and you pull the apple off before it's ripe, it's going to be bitter. Yet, if you wait too long, the apple's going to fall off the tree and it's going to be no good. The ripening of a bankruptcy lead is no different. You need to ripen them in a way and pull that lead off the tree when they're ready, right? Part of it's self-selected, but the email and text drip sequence that we do for you is something that it warms people up, and then they self-select. They're like, hey, I'm ready to talk to you. I'm ready to follow up. The biggest breakdown we have is when people do not put people in the drip. This is the highest ROI you're ever going to have. Why? Because the lead has been paid for. You already have the lead. And I can tell you definitively, these people are not filing other places. Now, since we started with the drip, that was in 2000, I think it was 2020 or maybe 2018, I don't remember. But Facebook leads has been from 2020. we go back and we see these open rates. People are not filing in other places. We got like 5% of the people who are going other places. 98% of the debtors are burying their head in the sand. If you're not following up with them, guess what happens? When they're ready to file and they're ripened, they're going to search bankruptcy attorney near me and they're going to call the attorney where it should be your case. So make sure you put that in. And if you need us to build an automation around this, where it comes into your follow-up sequence and you convert them, we can do that for you. We can do it, make it completely automated. And one last thing, I've heard often, the bankruptcy ripening process takes about 6 months. Okay. From the stats that I've seen internally, this is after following up with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of leads, looking at open rates for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of leads. Over the past 4 to 5 years, it is not a 6-month ripening process. It's more like a 2 to 2.5 year ripening process. It takes time, but it works. And it could be because of the free COVID money. It could be because of the income going up. But now, with the problems with happening in the economy, I can only imagine that the ripening process is going to shorten. So make sure you get these leads coming into the sequence. Okay. Any questions up until now? Just open up your video if you have a question and we can jam out. James, always count on a question from this guy. Love it. Talk to me.
So in the beginning, you were talking about the TikTok lead.
Yeah.
Is that something that 720 is going to be doing?
We're hiring the influencers.
Okay.
And we're managing the whole thing. We're not like, I'm not going to be a TikTok sensation, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to do that and then we can
No.
sell your leads, but it's not for me, right? But we're finding it. I gave you those 3 examples of people we're actively talking to, but fortunately we have this network of attorneys we can cover. So that's what we're going to be doing.
All right. So like Adrian Hines, I guess he's here in Ohio. Like he's doing the TikTok leads.
Yeah, but she doesn't. So she just resigned from as partner of her firm.
Okay.
She's going full time. She has a small part of Toledo where she wants the leads. So there's Ohio. There's a lot of openings. So if that's something you want to do, we'll just set up a time. We'll make sure that gets done.
Okay.
Yeah. The main thing we have to do, and specifically, I know with you, because you have a non-attorney salesperson, we just need a place that we can call and have that call being answered, right? Because what happens is, personally, if they don't get answered, they contact Adrian. Adrian takes a screenshot and then sends it to me.
So Adrian's actually doing the TikTok videos. You're paying her to do that.
Yeah.
And then all these leads are coming to you guys. Yeah, and the way we're set up is that we have phone agents. So if there would ever be a hot transfer, it would go to the phone agent, and the phone agent is supposed to follow a script and get them on one of our calendars.
Right. As long as we can get someone on the phone, that's the main thing. And this is something new, James. We've never done live transfers before, right?
Yeah.
So this is something we're building and we've created. And I don't know if you were in the beginning of the call, we've done 496 of them since June 25th. So we're busting it out. So it's pretty
sounds
exciting.
like it.
Yeah. Good. Any other questions or thoughts? Okay. Any question, anyone else before I move on? My last 2 points, student loans, debt negotiation. Okay. Student loans. I'm hearing this in the marketplace. My goodness. I can't handle student loans. I can't handle student loans because I'm just too busy with bankruptcy, right? I'm too busy with bankruptcy. With Ken Neely, he came to me 1.5 years before the new guidance. This is 1.5 years. He said, I'm going to try to file bankruptcy for student loan debt under Bruner. This is 1.5 years before the guidance. And he had many, many successes. I want to say like 40 plus at this point, could be over 50 of his student loan clients have had discharges of his debt. According to Stretto, which is obviously the software company, the number of student loan attestation forms have been filed in 2024 is already double 2023. And there's an 82% success rate of the people that have been filed to full discharge. Okay. So we have an existing ad and it absolutely works. I'm going to play it again just so we're clear on, so you guys can remember it. And this you could see we're running this ad in Oklahoma with Luke Holman. If you have student loans, you must listen to this recording. I'm sure you've heard that you can never get rid of your student loans and you're gonna be paying on it forever. That is not the case anymore. The federal government had just changed the rules on how student loans work. And for the first time ever, you can get rid of your loans completely, absolutely through bankruptcy. Now that means if you qualify, you will never have to pay back your student loans. They're gone forever. It doesn't matter if they're private student loans or public or federal student loans. It doesn't matter if it's $10,000 of debt or $100,000 or $200,000 in debt. It doesn't matter. It works the same for all types of student loans. If this sounds interesting, submit your information below and we'll email you information and give you a free opportunity for a free consultation, no cost, with one of our attorneys. Finally, you have a chance to be completely debt-free. So that ad took months and months and months to figure out. And we started running it and we started getting leads from all over the country for Ken. And he got overwhelmed. And then we said, okay, well, let us start taking the calls, sort of like, the way Rich takes calls in advance for bankruptcy, let us take calls in advance for student loans. And we started filling out a full attestation form with Strato's software. And then we would identify which ones are good, which ones are bad. So we transferred 100 and I don't remember the exact number. I should have looked this up beforehand, but it was 110-ish, 120-ish student loan leads through that ad. He had a sign up rate of about 55%. And 90% of them, maybe 87%, but really close to there, needed bankruptcy. So this lead is different, right? This lead, we're putting in the ad up front. You got to file bankruptcy to get this. So they have that mindset. There's no like surprise, first of all. Second of all, they're more sophisticated. They have student loans. For the most part, they have jobs. It's not we're dealing with people in Social Security. They're a medical doctor or a nurse with $100,000 student loans. And they're like, can this be done? The biggest problem with this, because we've taken many of these calls, is the belief. I've always been told you can't get rid of student loans, like taxes. But that's not the case. When we bridge that gap and show them that it's different, these people are absolutely open for bankruptcy. So let's talk about Luke Holman. You can call Luke Holman. He charges $2,200 for a Chapter 7. He charges $5,900 for a Chapter 7 student loan combo. Okay. So it's about two and a half times. And I said, is it 2.5 times the work? He's like, no, it's not 2.5 times the work, but it's more than 2.5 times the value. Okay. So it's another little niche you can do. Another thing is that Strato's rolling out. Strato will, for $300, go through. They're not advertising this yet. I don't believe they are, but they're rolling this out and we can get you looped into this. For $300, they are going to meet with the client, take them through the full intake. If they qualify for attestation, they're going to give you the attestation. If they qualify for a reduced payment plan, they're going to give you that payment plan. So then you can just say, okay, great. You qualify for full discharge. It's going to be $5,900 with the Chapter 7 bankruptcy, or you don't qualify for Chapter 7 and for discharge, but you can get to reduced payment fee. It's going to be $600. And then you make that $300 spread. Student loans are coming, and there's no doubt about it. NACPA, it went from small breakout sessions talking about student loans to the full meeting room talking about student loans. The state of California just came out with a no-look fee for a student loan discharge at $4,500. Okay, student loans are coming. Anyone on the call have experience on this you want to talk about? Anybody? Open up your video.
So I actually did a discharge with Ken, actually here in Nebraska. He co-counseled with me, and it went through, but it was a bit of work, and maybe it's changed, but the attestation clause process went through, and that might have been one of the early ones that our U.S. trustee went through and maybe gave it a little extra look over, but it wasn't a full discharge. It was a sizable shave, though. It was definitely worth it.
How much is
it was? I don't have that information in front of me, but it was, I'd say 70%, very significant. Client was very happy. And I think honestly, the hardest work was just the conversation back and forth and getting the documents to the U.S. trustee. It just took longer than I was expecting. But again, that might have just been first case scenario type of stuff. I don't know.
You know,
But yeah.
it is true. It's regionally, because Ken would tell me when we were advertising for him, hey, don't advertise in these states.
Right.
Because certain U.S. attorneys are like, they got the grind. They got the grind on the student loans and they make it hard, right? And there's certain states that are easy. I wish I had that data. I don't, but that's a very meaningful point, Burke. Great share on that. What else? Anything else come to mind?
Well, we started doing this in Phoenix and we've completed one. We have 3 more in process and we're just filed the second. So we're working on it. There's a lot of value in it. A lot of people call. We set everybody out for review. We don't make promises with it because I'll put my foot in my mouth. They're like, yeah, we can look into this, but it's becoming a very valuable part of the firm, especially if you're charging double what you can for a 7, then yeah, like it's.
I mean, I really think you can charge double. I mean, Neely charges $300 a month for 36 months. He charges $7,200 just for the student loan discharge.
That's incredible.
Okay, he charges $3,000 for the Chapter 7, and $300 a month for 36 months for the student loan discharge. So my point is, I just want people to understand this. Like first of all, this is something that you consider and look at the stats because of it. You can be an early mover because people just aren't doing it. If you can't handle it, for example, Rich's team could take the calls, right? Take you through the process and all that stuff. You don't even have to start advertising. We have email drip sequences for the follow-up just for your past clients. We could put those appointments on Rich's calendar and then we can matriculate from there. Jamie Miller said to me, he's like, I want to say is 100 and something people, all past clients paying. And he's like, he tells his past clients, he's like, I'm not going to file anything with the courts until you're paid in full. So he's getting money coming every single month, just from past clients. He did not pay for the lead. He paid nothing. It's all revenue. And with Rich, you could say, hey, I need your fee collected up front. Whatever I'm paying you, I need this collected by the client. Like there's ways to make this work. This is low-hanging ripe fruit that you could consider. Okay, last point I want to bring up is debt negotiation. Okay, I'm working with a handful of attorneys and Rob Hoagland on the line as well. We're going to do one of these calls where we really unpack this in great deal with Rob. Rob's a very experienced sort of like legacy bankruptcy attorney, and many of you know him from his Google Analytics program. He's a type of guy that he builds a system internally and then offers it out, right? He's just an entrepreneur. And we've talked to him on this call about his AdWords program and his ERTC. He got many of our attorneys, actually got millions of dollars for our attorneys with ERTC funding. So those people, there's probably 8 to 10 to 12% of the time you're talking to someone and they just don't fit the mold of bankruptcy for whatever reason, right? They're completely against it, or they make too much money. They don't want to file Chapter 13. And sometimes debt negotiation is better. He's got a part of his office that is now dedicated to debt negotiation. And the best part about it, you could take these leads that don't file bankruptcy, refer to him, and make money on this. So we're going to do a strategy call on that in the future where we connect. But I just wanted to share that out. If any of you want that introduction earlier, all you have to do is email me and I'll make that happen. Rob, anything you want to say on that as like a little
Sure, thanks. Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction. I'm attorney Robert Hoagland. I founded my bankruptcy firm 34 years ago. As old as that makes me feel, I'm going to tell you that anyway. And I've represented personally over 16, 17,000 people in bankruptcy. And over the years, I'm sure you've all been familiar with getting calls from clients that have been on debt settlement, debt negotiation plans that, one, had no business being there, and two, were oversold and undelivered by these dirtbag operations out there that have their veil of being a non-for-profit organization. And I have no respect at all for these organizations. And over the years, I felt that there were clients that were not a good candidate for bankruptcy, but negotiation, and pretty much have been cutting them loose to the wolves, for lack of better terms. And under that guise, I put together a very good program with an attorney and working with many other larger bankruptcy firms throughout the United States on a co-counsel arrangement to help these folks that need it, that it's a good fit for debt settlement. And we don't take any fees unless we settle an account. There's no upfront fees. In other words, we do it right. And by that, I mean, the price points are right. We make sure that everything we do is ethical, transparent, or otherwise with the clients. And when I first started this, I thought I'm going to get a few of these cases in. And quite frankly, at the end of the day, I was very shocked about, how many clients did not qualify for a Chapter 7, or if they did a Chapter 13, their payments would be just exorbitant based on the amount of non-exempt assets, their budget or otherwise. And it's been a very good fit for our firm and the other firms that we associate with. And it's been a very, very pleasant experience, not to mention the fact that people who, will never see the light of day for a bankruptcy, qualified or not, we're not throwing them back to the wolves. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, Rob, it's a pleasure. Thanks I know we didn't plan this out. It was just on my list. So if any of you watch this video or on the call, want the introduction, you guys can talk, but it's a great way to generate revenue from leads that are stagnant.
I was shocked. I'm generating, we do 200-300 appointments a month, and I'm generating $60,000-$70,000, $80,000 a month in revenue just from our debt settlement claims when they fit, when it's a good fit for the client, of course. And I was shocked. I didn't think we do, a third of that. It is what it is. I mean, people don't qualify for bankruptcy. They don't qualify, period. So.
Yeah, Rich, you got a question for Robert? We got a question, Robert.
What does an ideal client for debt settlement or debt resolution look like?
We can't work with medical bills. No debt settlement company, organization, or law firm can, but we work with people that have unsecured credit card debt, unsecured personal loans, or vehicle repos. The typical client is a single individual or married couple that is over the median income, qualifying for a Chapter 7, or they have just a boatload of non-exempt assets that a Chapter 7 would not be in their best interest, or at the same time, a Chapter 13 payment to give up their disposable income would be just exorbitant, like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month, where a debt settlement, debt negotiation plan, could be $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month. What we charge is 15 to 20% of whatever account we settle, and we don't charge anything until that account is settled and paid up in full. So it does take a little while. It does take a little while for the seeds to grow, plant, and offer the fruit of revenue for your firm. But it's they're good plans. We don't put people into plans they can't afford the payments. Of course, we turn them down, so they're very viable. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, good deal, Robert. We're going to do a strategy call just on this in the future. Any other questions with regard to this, marketing, anything we've talked about, or anything out of left field? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Hey, have a great rest of your summer, and we will see you in September.